Hi everyone, I'm Mindy Eggen. In today's video, I'm going to be playing with the Gina K Designs Poly Glaze foiling sheets. I recently taught a class for Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine over on their YouTube channel for World Card Making Day, and I had so much fun playing with the Poly Glaze sheets, and I had a few other ideas, so I wanted to put them in a video for you. Hope you enjoyed today's card project. So here is a look at two of the Poly Glaze foiling sheets that I have picked out. I'm kind of undecided exactly what I want to do, but foiling is so easy. I could very well make two cards at this point, so we'll see how it shakes out. But I'm going to start, these are the two ideas that I have. This one is the winter snow, so it's got a beautiful array of snowflakes in the background. And then this one, which is one of my absolute favorites right now, is the flurries. So even though it's called the flurries, it has circles and a bunch of little stars and some bigger stars in this one. Now, if you're not familiar with the Polyglaze sheets from Gina K Designs, they are pre-printed, and this is Polyglaze, not toner. But you can use the same type of foil, which is either like the fancy foils or the toner foil from Thermoweb that you can use with these. It's just that you're not getting black. It's going to be, it's kind of a light gray, which is, that's the Polyglaze. So you can see it's a very light design on there. This one is scattered with a bunch of snowflakes, and in each pack you get 10 sheets that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm going to pull out one of the snowflakes and I'm going to pull out one of the flurries. And I've mentioned this before, but I like to keep my Polyglaze sheets inside of the same protectors that I use for my stamp sets, just to protect them from any dog hair or dust that may be floating around. The other thing that I'm going to need is a carrier sheet. This is from Thermoweb. It is especially lined in the inside. So I have my carrier sheet ready. I have my Polyglaze sheets ready. And then I have some foils picked out. So this is the 14 karat from Gina K Designs and Thermoweb. And then this one is the sparkling silver. So it's got a bunch of like circles and stars in there. So this is the other two, these are the two that I plan on using today. So I plan on doing ink blending over the top. I'm going to be doing my snowflakes in silver, and I'm going to do these flurries in gold. And this is the Gina K Designs 14 karat. These also I like to keep in pocket protectors, and they tend to like to stick together. So you just got to make sure you have only one sheet on there. I'll pull one of those out and put this back in my pocket. Then I'll go ahead and grab one of these sparkling silvers. So you can see that these foils are larger than my card front, so I am going to trim them both down to fit my card panel. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it a little bit. I'm going to grab my scissors. Large scissors work best for something like this. So there's my sparkling silver. Whoops, grabbed two. There we are. Then I'm going to use with my snowflakes. This can go back. And then the flurries, which I will be using the 14 karat. Okay, so I have my foil trimmed down. I'm going to be using my mini Minc today, so I just need to turn it on in the back. And I set mine to heat setting number 3. You can experiment if you're having any problems with your foiling, but 3 seems to work for me. So I'm going to wait for that to turn green, which really is not going to take long. In the meantime, I'm going to get my panels ready. Now, one thing that I've learned from Gina is that I need to kind of clean my panel and my foil. So you're going to notice you have two sides of your foil. You're going to have your main side, which is the color that you want, and then you have more of a dull side. So I'm going to take a Swiffer cloth and I'm just going to wipe over my background, and I'll do the same thing with my foil. Then I can flip this over. So here we have our Polyglaze design facing up. I'm going to take my foil, place it so the pretty side is facing up. Then I'll take my carrier sheet. Now if you need to have a shim, you can add a cardstock shim if you feel like you need more pressure. I've always had really good results just putting this right in the carrier sheet. So my fold is at the top here. I'm going to place this in. Just kind of gently press that down. Make sure I don't have any gaps in there. And then I'm going to feed this in to the laminator, and I like to do folded side in. That way the rollers aren't going to catch any kind of loose papers there, the loose edges. So I'm going to just gently guide that in. The machine is automatically going to grab it and feed it through. So I always place my hand kind of underneath in the front to keep it kind of level. And I'll do the same thing in the back of the machine. So once that's come through, I'm just going to carefully pull this out, set it off on the side, let that cool off. I'm going to grab my other panel, which is the snowflakes. I'm going to wipe down the back side of this. This one can be a little tricky because it is silver. So you just want to go with the dull side is what you want to wipe down. Wipe my panel down. So I have poly glaze facing up and the pretty side or the shiniest side facing up as well. Grab my carrier sheet and just find my fold. Place that in my carrier sheet, kind of start at the top and just gently push that down and then feed it into the machine. Now, as it's going through and it's going to feed it through the back, you don't need to pull it. It's going to just gently guide it and just have your hand there to, I guess, kind of catch it. So now that one fed through, I'm going to take this out, just kind of set it off on the side to cool for a few seconds. And I can shut my Minc off and put this off on the side and let it cool off. So now we can bring in my first one that I did here, which was that 14 karat. Carefully peel that away. And I have a perfectly foiled design. These are always so hard to capture on camera, but they are so pretty. So that one looks like it foiled perfectly. I don't see any dull spots whatsoever. Now I have my snowflakes that I can just peel this away. Oh, wow. So super sparkly. Wow. I'm surprised my camera is not freaking out because it's so sparkly. All right, so now I want to do some ink blending over the top. And I've been asked this before. People say, do you do ink blending first or second? You want to do your ink blending after you foil because otherwise you're applying ink over that poly glaze. So it's always foil first, then ink blend. And I'm going to start with the snowflakes one. Okay, so I'm kind of winging it here. I didn't really plan out my colors ahead of time, so I'm just going to kind of wing it with some colors and we'll see what happens. So for the colors I'm going to use over this background, I chose Turquoise Sea. Oh, there's Turquoise Sea. Sea Glass, Turquoise Sea, and Dark Lilac. So I'm going to start with the lightest color, which is the Sea Glass. Just going to prop that into my ink stand so it holds my ink pad in place while I pick up my ink. I'm using the Gina K Designs blending brush. Pick up a little of that ink, and then I'm going to start off the cardstock and work my way onto it. And just lightly go in some circular motions. I'm going to blend up maybe about 1/3 of the way up. Now, what I should have did is kind of wiped my front panel down a little bit because I am noticing I'm picking up a little bit of kind of extra foil. It's just kind of cleaning up any areas where it was kind of maybe in between or I had a little over foiling done maybe. I can see some little sparkles, but that's okay. Doesn't hurt the snowflakes. It's just you might get a little over foiling in spots. Next I'm going to bring in is the Turquoise Sea. A little bit darker of a blue. This one, I'm going to start kind of in the middle of the card off and work my way on. Not going to come in too heavy-handed. Just build up my color. I may even have to go to a bit of a darker shade. to get the transition that I want, yeah, I think I'm going to bump this up. So I think I'm going to go grab a darker color. Let's try some Tranquil Teal. There we go. Now I'm seeing a little bit of a difference. And what's happening is that foil is resisting the ink. So you can do this on any of the Polyglaze sheets. You just need to foil first and ink blend second. Now the last color I'm bringing in is the dark lilac. So I'm going to kind of turn my card a little bit so I can get on this end and then work my way on. Just kind of light-handed, meaning don't apply a ton of pressure to your brush. A lot of times if you're seeing bristle marks, it's because you might be applying too much pressure. You might be pushing too hard on your brush. Just kind of gently glide. I'm going to work my way into that, what was that, Tranquil Teal that I just used. I'm going to blend into that. And I think I might come in with a darker color. Let me see. I want to see what happens if I put blue denim at the top. So like I said, kind of experimenting with colors to find what I like. Bring in some of that blue denim, which is really just going to deepen up that color. So it's like going to be a darkest violet in a way. There, I like that. I like dramatic backgrounds, and that silver is just really coming through. And you'll notice that we have a little bit of white edge here, so you can trim that down, which is what I plan on doing. There we go. I think I'm going to bring this Tranquil Teal back in and add a little bit more down here. So I have more of a gradual look instead of it looking like I went from purple to light blue. Now I'll just take a paper towel, wipe over that, pick up any excess ink that foil might have on top of it. There. Okay, now I know my camera is just not going to do this justice, but it is just so pretty. All right, so I want to do another stencil background really quick. So I'm going to clean up my mess and I'm going to bring in the Flurries one. So the one I want to do, which is one of the card ideas that I had, was putting a stencil over the top of the background, and it works really good for something like this where it's got kind of a subtle design, but I mean, it honestly can work with any of the foiled backgrounds. I just thought this one was really perfect for it. And this is the Summer Bouquet stencil, which I've used a few times. So this is a 3-piece layering stencil. And I'm going to be, let's see, need to kind of figure out how tall this is going to be with my stems and my leaves. I should almost do the leaves first just to get an idea. Let's take a look. If I were to center the stems, where would that put the flowers? I think I might do that. I think I'm going to try and center the stems here, these bottom 2 stems. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Okay. So first, let's get, okay, I think I'm going to just work right on the glass mat here. And I'm grabbing some washi tape. This is just some really cute washi tape from Lawn Fun. So I'm going to use that to hold my stencil down onto my glass mat. So I'm folding it up, placing this on the back of my panel, and then I can stick this down to my work surface so my cardstock's not going to move. And here is what I'm thinking. I've seen some people do this hinge method before. I have not done it. So let's see if I mess it up. So what that consists of is I really want to focus on these stems being fairly centered. So that is not straight at all. So I'm taking my washi tape and I'm going to just tape this down my work surface. So that way, this is kind of a hinge that I can place over there. So now, because this is actually the second layer. So now I'm taking the first layer and I'm going to line this right up over the top. I'm matching up the corners of my stencil. We'll see if this really matches up, but I'm going to place this over the top of that, oops, stems and leaves stencil, and I'm going to tape this one down. I'm probably going to be a little off, but my main thing is I really wanted to have those stems. So then this would flip up. I'll pop that up a little bit more. So I've seen people do this type of hinge method a couple times. I've never actually tried it myself. We'll see if this one matches up. I can always adjust it if I need to. So what I'll do is I'll flip my leaves open. I'm going to bring my flowers down, and I can even secure that in place if I need to, just while I'm ink blending. So the first color I'm going to use for my large flowers is light carnation. Pick up my ink and then just kind of start adding that color. So my stencil design is going to go right over all those foiled pieces. So we're still going to see a lot of the foil, but we're going to have this really pretty design. My light carnation is not as light as I was hoping because there's a lot of ink on this brush. So I'm probably transferring some of my darker pinks. I didn't clean it off very well. And I think what I also want to do is bring in a little bit of the dark carnation and my small blending brush and just add a little bit of that dark color right at the bottom of each of these flowers. Still really want to keep it light, light pink flower, but I just love bringing in two different colors of inks when it comes to stencils like this. And then I can peel that tape up and we'll flip that up. So that looks really cool. Now we're going to flip over our leaves. I could adjust that a little bit more. So I'm lining this up. So there is going to be a bit of a white gap between these stems and the flower. I think it was just a little bit too much of a gap for me when I first lined it up. There. And all of my areas are covered there, so I won't have green where I don't want it. And for my leaves, I think I will do Applemint and grass green. So I will start with the Applemint. The Applemint is really just a base color, an undertone pretty much. See, I think I have some other inks on my green brush. Once again, I didn't clean it off very good because Applemint's, I think, a little bit lighter than this even. This is a really pretty green, but I think it's even lighter than this really. Put my Applemint away and bring in my grass green. And this one I'm going with a mini blending brush again. Just adding some darker areas to my leaves. I know I've kind of been on a Halloween card making mood. And a lot of people are posting Christmas cards, and I have too, but sometimes I need a little break from seasonal and pop in something like this. Because it was just an idea I had, and I just really wanted to get it created. So that was layer 2 of this stencil. Oh, that looks so pretty. And then I could bring in layer 3, and I honestly don't even need these anymore. And then I can bring in layer 3. And Gina's got them labeled down in her bottom corner. It says Summer Bouquet 1, 2, or 3. And she's also got her name down in the bottom corner. Okay, so what I did, because I was having a hard time lining up this third layer, is I have my third layer here. This is the flower part, and I'm lining these two up together. And I could see through my stencil. So I'm lining, you can see the top layer I'm lining up, and I was holding the bottom layer with it. So that's going to help place my flowers exactly where they need to be. Then I can just remove, so I should have left the top layer. I should have left those stencils all taped in place. And I can remove that. So now all my buds are right where they need to be. Tape that down. And for this one, I think I'm just going to come in with the dark carnation. Now I can remove this layer of the stencil. Love it. And so you can see I stenciled right over the top of that foil. And I can peel this up off of my work surface. You don't want to use anything that's like super, super sticky because otherwise you'll end up ripping your cardstock. So now I have 2 panels. Looks like I'll be creating 2 cards today, where I ink blended over the foil. So I am going to clean up my stencils and my work surface, and I'm going to start turning these into cards. For both my cards, I'm going to use the Master Layouts 2 die set. And this particular die set has just the right size frame that I like to cut my panels out of. There's one with a plain edge and then one that has a stitching edge. I'm just going to use the plain edge because I think the stitching would get lost with the foil design. So I'm just going to grab that one. So I will die cut out both panels using the Master Layouts 2. I will take some low tack tape. This is Easy C tape, and I will hold this down with my Easy C tape. Now, when you're using your tape, I've mentioned this before, you don't want to add the tape onto your card front, the part that you want to use, especially when it's foiled, because tape can take away from the foil or take away all its prettiness. So you want to make sure you're taping, the die and then the outside part or the part that you're not going to use. So I'll do this for my flowers and also my snowflakes. So here are the 2 die cut panels, and I have one stamp set picked out for sentiment. This is the Festive Phrases from Gina K Designs. I love this fun, kind of just playful font that they used for the sentiments, and there is also coordinating dies for them, which I love because then I can die cut them out and place them onto my background. So I think what I'll do is I'll do, I think, Happy Holidays on this one. And then I'm going to do Merry and Bright on this one. Or I could do Season's Greetings, but I really like the Merry and Bright. So I'm going to stamp these 2 out. I have some heavyweight white cardstock from Gina K Designs. So there's Merry and Bright and Happy Holidays. Now, you can see there is a lot of area to these words. They're pretty thick, or the letters are pretty thick. So I want to make sure I condition this really, really well. One of the ways I like to do that, especially with something like these type of stamps, is start by just inking them up in a Versamark ink, which is just a clear sticky ink, any type of embossing ink, really. I'll just ink that up to help condition it. It's going to help take ink better. And then after I inked that up, I'm not stamping it. I'm going to come in with my tidy towel and just wipe those off. And I also like to take my hand. I'm just really conditioning this one because there's just so much to the letters. Both of the sentiments I am going to stamp in the black Onyx ink. I'm not going to go overly fancy with the sentiments because I kind of want the background to be the star of the show, even though these are going to take up a big part of the background. You could also heat emboss. I think heat embossing these would be really pretty. And I already know I'm going to have to stamp this multiple times, so not too worried about the coverage at this moment. Then I can close the door of the Misty and stamp these down. So not too bad really for the first time, but I'm definitely going to ink it up again. Stamp that down one more time. Really make sure to get that pressure on those letters. Much, much better. Then I can clean these off with my tidy towel and I'm going to put them away right away. Then I will grab my coordinating dies for each of these, which are going to line up just perfectly, not a ton of white edge around these sentiments. So I will hold them down with a low tack tape and die cut them out. When I did my die cutting, I also die cut out a plain piece from some heavyweight cardstock so I can layer these two together. That's just going to add that stability that I like behind my sentiments. So I will be doing that. I think I will just do this with my tape runner. There's a lot of open space there, so I'll just use my tape. I also have a piece of white cardstock that I trimmed down to be just a little bit smaller than my blended panels, so I will add that behind these. Give that one the stability that it needs. So now I have my two panels. Now for this one, I already know I want to add it to some red velvet cardstock. I obviously don't have any dark carnation or light carnation. I could go with pinks, which was one of the color ideas that I had in a previous video, but I kind of want to go a little bit more Christmassy. So I chose the red velvet. This one was going to have the Happy Holidays. I thought that would be small enough where it's not going to completely consume the flowers. I know some of you will be pretty brokenhearted if I cover up the flowers, but there's still a lot going on here. So I think having that larger sentiment will help kind of rein that in a little bit. And then for my snowflakes, I think I'm just going to do a white panel in the background. And this is just the Gina K Designs Heavyweight White. So I think I will add that to there. So I really want the colors to stand out. I want the dark on top though. So I'm going to have that nice frame all the way around. And then this one's going to have the Merry and Bright. Now, like I had mentioned before, I could definitely have heat emboss these to add more shimmer and shine to the project. And that's something that maybe I could do at another time because these were really quick to put together. But whenever I'm just kind of starting out with an idea, I will typically stamp in black first, see how that looks, maybe go back and do it in heat embossing. But for right now, I kind of just really like the black. I think I'm going to keep the focus of the shiny and sparkly stuff in the background. I will just use my, what is this? My Scotch 3M foam tape because it's thicker, so it's going to take up more room on the back of the panel. Remove the backing to these and line these up on my card fronts. And I will put these on card bases afterwards. I like to just work on card fronts for right now, or typically I will just do card fronts. And my snowflake panel. So it has just a little bit of a lift to it. There's not a ton, it's not super thick. And then I have my sentiments, which I think I will add foam squares to these. So I have Gina's foam squares. I bought like a ton of packs of these when they first came out. And I just love them because they are just a great thickness. I'm sure it probably says on the package what the thickness is, and I also love that the release paper comes off so easy. She also has these in strips and a smaller size too. I'll have to trim this one. So put you there. So this one, I'm going to put a little piece. I just cut that larger one in half so it can fit in those areas, and then I can fill in the back of my other sentiment. So I'll come over to my snowflake card, remove the backing of all of these foam pieces, make sure it's in the orientation that I want. Then I can grab my tweezers kind of help guide me to where I want it to be. Put that right about there. Then do the same thing for my flowers. Okay, now this one, I think I'm going to go up here, and I kind of like how that flower is kind of blooming out and this one's blooming off on the side. I think that's going to be a really good fit. These flurries, it's seriously just my favorite. It's really hard to see in camera, but they are so pretty. It's such a subtle interest, especially for this scattered design. And then this one has more of the all over design with those gorgeous snowflakes. So this would be actually pretty easy to recreate. You just foil a bunch of them, and you can either use maybe some blue foil if you want to do snowflakes and not ink blend, or just spend some time. It's a great way to practice your ink blending, because if you're sending out Christmas cards, no one's going to know if one looks different than the other. So there are my 2 card project ideas that I got out of my system using the Poly Glaze sheets from Gina K Designs and doing some ink blending over the top. So I hope this has given you some ideas to use in your card projects. If you have the Poly Glaze sheets, I hope this inspired you to dig them out. If you don't have them, I don't know what you're waiting for, because they are amazing and so easy to use. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's card projects. I will have all of the supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again real soon.